All right, welcome to another episode of Listen to Us Rant About Movies. I'm Zach Harris, and unfortunately, Wes couldn't be with us tonight. Busy boy, what are you going to do? But the rants can't stop, so tonight we're going to be all in Chicago. We got Scott over here with us, who you might remember.
Howdy, howdy.
And we got my buddy Sean here, also talking to us.
Hello, hello.
All right, how's it going, boys? What's new?
Oh, it's great.
Going good.
Just going super great.
Yeah, super great, the best. Yeah, no, just doing the usual, watching lots of movies, you know. And now I'm here, so that's my life.
Beautiful news, beautiful news. All right, well, on this episode tonight, we're going to be discussing Jordan Peele's Us. And we are also going to be drinking Bell's Two Hearted Ale. That's what we got going tonight. Scotty's just cracking one here. Let's get his little sip going. You guys have probably had this before, right? This is
all
like
the
a fresh, yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I can only recall so many brands of beers I've had. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got you.
Probably.
Tasty though. I'm into it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we start, before we get going, I just want to take a brief moment to just fill you guys in. I don't know if you've heard about this deal. But there's just like a really good deal.
Tell me about this deal, Zach.
So, I just want to remind you and, people potentially listening at home that this podcast is brought to you by Audible, and you can get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial. Get a load of that.
Ooh. Boom.
At www.audibletrial.com/LTURAM. There's 180,000 titles on there for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3. And if you like this episode, you can find other episodes on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher.
That's so much content.
Look at all that content, just packing it in there. You know what I mean?
Sure am.
All right, so let's get into what we've been watching. Or wait, do you guys want to tell me a little bit? Scott, you've been on the show before.
Yeah. Coincidentally, I was on the last time I was on the show. We were talking about Get Out.
Yeah.
And when you asked me to be on the show for Us, I was like, is this because I did Get Out?
I think it was mainly just, horror coming back around. I feel like we don't do like a ton of horror stuff. So then we were like looking for a guest. And I was like, horror.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
And
nice little coincidence.
You haven't been on before, Sean. So
I haven't.
Tell us about yourself.
Yeah,
man.
this is
What's
my first time on. I'm a good friend with Zach here. But I'm a horror director based in Chicago here. I've had a few shorts, play around some festivals and premiere. You can watch them online. One of my shorts, Machine Baby, is available on bloodydisgusting.com's YouTube channel called World of Death. So check out Machine Baby on World of Death. And then my most recent film, Canine, is coming out this year, but we got to play some cool festivals with it. Nightmares Film Festival, Cinepocalypse here in Chicago. We played, some great festivals and organizations. Beyond that, I'm just a big horror nerd. Just pretty much watching as many horror movies as I can.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm a self-described horror junkie. That's what I'd say, pretty much.
So I thought it'd be nice to get like a little horror gathering here.
I mean?
It's an appropriate time.
Yeah, it's our comfy place,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess segueing in to what we've been watching. So what you boys been watching? Who wants to start? Who's got something?
Well, I'll talk about Better Off Dead,
Okay,
which
yeah.
I had just shown my spouse recently. I'm a big fan of this film. I know, Zach, you said you have not seen Better Off Dead.
I have not.
Scott, have you seen Better Off Dead?
I have not.
It's a 1985 total just like 80s comedy, real zany, real kind of like a lot of like dream sequences and fourth wall breaking and a lot of it's just really zany in tone, but it's really, I think, progressive for its time in the way that it bends genre. It's a total farcical comedy that uses a lot of horror tones, horror score, horror cinematography, and things like that to kind of get a lot of punchlines. And at the same time, I think it's really socially progressive for being in the 80s, and it's really ahead of its time in that way, where a lot of 80s comedies are just like these like really backwards sex comedies, right? And like kind of you look back and it's like, oh, Attack of the Nerds, it's it's a rapist wins at the end of the day or something. Totally. And Better Off Dead is actually cool because it kind of the main antagonist of the film is that kind of character that seems to be the protagonist in all these other films at the time. And I don't know, I mean, I think it's just a whole lot of fun, and especially if you like horror, it's the kind of comedies that you'd naturally be drawn to.
What year was it again?
1985. It's starring John Cusack, super young John Cusack.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
I mean, the basic premise of the movie is like he's like a high school kid and just kind of his first love breaks up with him, and so he's suicidal, and so it's him like trying to kill himself, but then he falls in love with a new girl, this foreign exchange student from France. But it's super kind of rebellious and zany. I don't know. There's a lot of memorable quotes and scenes in the film. Okay. Really, really well done. I was comparing it to John Hughes films, and it's kind of like what I feel like John Hughes like. It's the epitome of the John Hughes kind of archetype, where it's much zanier and sillier than a John Hughes film, but at the same time, it really nails like the tone that it goes for much better. Yeah, I don't know. Check it out.
Yeah, you were talking to me about it earlier. I feel like that one slipped through the cracks for me, but I definitely should watch that.
Yeah, you would like it.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Similar horror comedy note. I guess that worth noting, especially amongst the fellows in this on this podcast right now. So not this month, but last month I watched this movie. There's Nothing Out There.
Oh yeah, it's the Vinegar Syndrome.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Have you heard of this movie?
No, I don't know it.
Okay, so it's notable because I think it was like 92 it came out, 91, something like that. I think it was 91 or 92 that it came out, and it's notable because it's kind of a precursor to Scream.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
But in a sense where there is a character who is a horror movie expert, and he's calling out all the stuff, all the tropes that he recognizes that the friends he's with who go to this cabin don't recognize. The story itself, though, is a little not the opposite of. Besides that, is the opposite of Scream, where the story is about there's I guess like this alien thing that falls from space, and it's like this frog tentacle creature or whatever, and it just like feeds on these random people in the woods and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just notably fun. The dialogue with the basically the main character, who's the horror movie expert, they drive by a car on the way to the cabin. They drive by a car accident. And clearly somebody died, and he's like, "Guys, we gotta turn around. I've seen this in a million movies. This is called The Warning." The warning scene or whatever it is.
Yeah,
I'm paraphrasing, but it's basically that moment and just like saying exactly what we're all thinking, having watched a billion of these movies.
Yeah. Totally.
And so it's really funny that it's just kind of precurses those ideas that Scream utilized and focused on. But when it came out, it just kind of. I don't know. I don't remember what the reason was, but basically just went under the radar
Really?
completely.
Yeah, they just weren't ready.
Yeah.
Interesting. Man, that reminds me of. Do you guys remember that '70s slasher? It was another self-aware horror comedy slasher. Oh God, the name is escaping me right now. But I think if you're into those kind of like before they were, genre benders or whatever, kind of self-aware critique films. It's right up in there. I'll remember it an hour into the show, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Honestly, whenever it happens, just like
Blurt it out.
feel free to pause. We'll take a halt and let's see, what have I been watching? I guess I saw The Beach Bum.
The Beach Bum.
New Harmony
Does that
Korine
sum
movie.
it up?
Yeah, that's about it for me. I was a pretty big Harmony Korine fan. And it's just not very good. Just kind of a stinker. It's a big bummer. I'm out. You know, that sucks.
Dang.
There's a filmmaker you really like, and then they just release something that's just kind of gross. Just kind of like, I don't know. There's some pretty bad like transphobic jokes in it. That's like really distasteful. Like, come on, dude. Yeah. And I feel like this is something we were also talking about earlier, but I feel like a lot of his previous movies, they take people who aren't normally presented in a movie, and instead of just putting them in one, they like treat them as if they were like the protagonist of that. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just treating them, I don't know, like people. Whereas this, it's very much the opposite, and it's just like feels like they're exploiting people. Just like putting Snoop Dogg or Jimmy Buffett next to them because it's like funny somehow. And the joke just gets really tired really fast, and it was kind of just like, I don't know, it's kind of douchey. It's just like,
that's too bad.
He came up and did a Q&A and just like was intentionally confusing. He just like, I have this app on my phone I make beats with, like it's downloading. Just like sat there in silence and then like tried to like do that for a second. The guy doing the Q&A was just like, what? Like what are we doing? And then he's like, what? And then everyone's like in uproarious laughter. I was like, why isn't he like talking about the movie? I don't know.
I mean, that's like, Harmony though. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's worn thin. It's like it's over, man. Like, I don't know.
But Spring Breakers was so good.
Spring Breakers was so good.
It was so good.
I love Spring Breakers.
I don't know.
But I don't know. It came off really like, oh, I'm like too cool to do this right now. And it's like, I just watched a movie that cost millions of dollars, and it basically feels like they just like went to Florida and got like ripped and just like smoked a ton of weed, and then we're like, oh shit, like we gotta like make a movie. Like,
I mean, he is rebellious, right? I mean,
yeah.
What's more rebellious than taking the studio's money and just fucking wasting it?
Yeah, but if what you make has no purpose aside from like showing people that like you like to smoke weed in Florida. Yeah. It's like, what's the point? I don't know. It just felt like a waste of time. It was bullshit. It's kind of a bullshit movie.
That sucks. To be fair, I haven't seen it.
When it ended, I was like, it was fun. And then I was talking about it more, and I was like, yeah, you're kind of right. And then it's just like, it's like there's so many people there, like waiting for him to like just don't do the Q&A. Like if you're just gonna come out and be like fuck all you. Like I get going on like David Letterman and being a weirdo and being like, fuck you. Like this is weird. But when you're doing it at like the Music Box where they're doing a retrospective of all your movies and like everyone came there to see your movie and you're with people that like your work like very intently, then like
you're jabbing the wrong
they're
people.
Not the people to like tell to fuck off.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's like everyone's there because they like and appreciate your work, like, and you just like don't care. You know?
Absolutely.
And it's like you didn't care about making something that said anything either. It's just kind of empty. But anyway,
I believe I remember the title of that.
Oh,
film.
nice! Hell yeah! What was it?
Have you ever seen Student Bodies, 1981?
No.
I've heard of it, and I've definitely seen the cover on a video store shelf.
There you go.
Oh yeah,
it's one of those.
Check it out. It's all right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Another movie I saw recently, also Vinegar Syndrome. I know I told Zach about this previously, but Sean, this might be up your alley. I saw The Suckling.
Oh, you know, I have not. I had a different friend that watched it recently and said, out of all of the garbage movies you've seen recently, this is the one I should check out.
Oh yes. It sounds the synopsis has been like, oof, like this is gonna be be fucking rough.
I have a friend, I swear to God, his mom came into work and then she called him his little suckling. And we have made fun of him ever since. It's great.
A friend of mine wanted, it was like for him it was an instant, when Vinegar Syndrome announced it, released it was an instant buy because he worked at a place where he worked with this dude who he would whenever he had something stuck in his teeth, he'd be like
Oh, no.
all day until it was gone pretty much, and so everyone nicknamed him the Suckling. And so he found out that there was a movie. He was like, oh, it's in my cart.
So wait, what's the concept of the movie? That's like a fetus, right?
Yeah, so this guy. Okay, so it's this movie should be by. If I just as soon as I describe it, you're gonna think this is a trauma movie. It's not, but it should be a trauma movie basically.
They missed out.
So it's I think 1990. But it kind of feels like it probably was shot actually shot like a couple of years prior or something. I could be wrong, but so this guy gets his girlfriend knocked up, and he brings her to this illegal abortion house / whorehouse, and he
What a combo.
right. And it's basically the girl gets tricked into having an abortion. She doesn't want to abort the baby, but she was like, I'm just gonna go here because I said I would and I'd support him, but I'm having this baby. And
Men.
of course she gets tricked. They abort the baby, and then the fetus, and then it gets flushed down the toilet. The assistant just flushes it down the toilet, where somehow it gets exposed to some toxic waste that's leaking from next door. And so
it should have been a trauma movie.
Yeah,
Literally.
So it gets exposed to toxic waste and becomes this creature basically. And it seals the house with its flesh somehow, and also simultaneously
I like that concept a
yeah
lot.
they can't leave the house because every exit is sealed off with like indestructible flesh or whatever.
Beautiful.
And this thing is running through the walls of this house, and it's slowly getting bigger and bigger as the movie's progressing, naturally.
Wow. That is not what I would have expected from that title, but I'm into it.
Yeah. So it's I think it's the when the movie starts, like there's a couple. To be fair, it's not amazing. There's a couple parts where I'm like, okay, this is kind of slow now,
Yeah.
but when it's good, it's good. And the early good sign was that the intro of the movie, I can't remember all of it, but it has like a scrolling text, and it's basically trying to pass it off as if this is based on true events, or like people question whether or not this really happened. And it ends with like the film. I can't remember exactly what they say, but it ends with the film. The filmmakers believe this to be true, or whatever, or whatever, and stuff like that. So anytime I'm like, anytime you see something like that, you're in for a ride.
Yeah, totally.
It's just it's outrageous. I think it's the only movie that the guy who directed it did too.
Oh, really?
Which is a shame. But I could understand somebody
Not like a
really,
Charles Lawton shame.
Yeah, no,
Right? I mean,
not like that. Not like that.
Oh,
Not like that.
God, such a
Not like that. But
horrible-
I can see someone not wanting to back somebody who made the Suckling.
Yeah,
called
for
The
sure.
Suckling.
Probably be hard to get funding for that second one. Do you want to watch my aborted fetus?
I don't know. Look at the
Monster.
career Henenlotter made, right?
Yeah,
that's
right.
True. That's true.
It can happen.
Well, nice.
Dreams come true.
Mm-hmm.
All right, did you go, Sean?
I went. I can go again. I did see the Puppet Master, Littlest Reich.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
from
my God.
2018.
I've only ever seen the first one.
I've only seen the Littlest Reich. That was my intro to the franchise as a whole.
Oh, wow, okay.
And I've been considering seeing the first three. I think I bought a pack of 20 of them at some point for a nickel, and they've been sitting in deep in my shelves or something. And I don't know. I just haven't had the confidence to.
For some people, that's their jam. I'm not a big full moon person. I know a guy who loves full moon, and he loves movies with killer puppets or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't
He
know.
saw some footage from Deep Red, and he's like, "Oh wait, is this a killer puppet movie?" Because that one scene, he's like, well, "No, it's not. Don't get your hopes up."
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I don't know. My girl, she thought they were cute, So.
Oh, yeah.
And it's fun. It's fine.
when I was a kid, I would always look at the horror shelves and stuff, and just artwork was way more interesting back then. But seeing the covers of the first 5 Puppet Master movies on VHS, they had to me as a kid, they were I thought they were genuinely very creepy.
Oh, totally.
So-
They scare the shit out of you.
yeah,
They
for
took
sure,
the
man.
thing you loved the most or whatever, your source of stress relief, and turned it against you. And as a kid, it's fuck.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
if Killer Beers or something, killer weed movies should be scarier, really, but they're not.
Yeah.
But it's whatever, winds you down, attacking you.
Totally. But yeah, when I finally saw the first one, I was personally, I think some people love it, and I think I got a new transfer not that long ago or something. But
I didn't know people love it.
There's I mean, if there's that many movies, it's got to have an audience.
Some sort of base.
It's got to have some sort of devoted fan base. That's what's his name? Stroking Richard Band's ego. Charles Band. Sorry, Richard Band's the composer. His brother. I always mix the two up. Charles Band.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Tourist Trap. You know, I mean, in that Charles Band production.
Yeah. No, not saying that everything he does isn't good or anything. He has done good stuff, but he is a salesman. I think more than anything. So he just tries to find some way to.
He's like a Lloyd Kaufman in that way, just with a different flavor. You know,
yeah, totally.
I mean, I don't know. The Literalist Reich to me specifically, it felt like. As Craig Zoller like had like a joke, like an inside joke that just got bigger and bigger, and eventually his inside joke turned into a movie script, and then eventually somebody like looked at it way too seriously and was like, okay, I'll buy that and make that. And it's not as funny as the inside joke probably is, you know. I mean, there is some dialogue where we were just like wow, like that was some like dad joke tire, like you know, zinger of a dialogue, in like a weird way, and it's fine, it's watchable. I mean, there's a lot of gore, a lot of kills. I mean, and that stuff's always fun. Love some practical effects or whatever, but it's not all practical. But
yeah, the main reason I only ever saw the first one was just that once I finally saw it and I hyped up over so many years, I was very underwhelmed because it's so slow, and I'm a fan of some slow movies, but this wasn't the good kind of. For me at least, it wasn't the good kind of slow movie.
It's not like when I'm looking for something to like slow and meditative.
Right. It's not.
You still need substance.
Yeah, exactly. But I've heard from multiple people that the sequels get better, especially once it's the second or third one. I think it's the third one where they start fighting the Nazis.
Right. Yeah. I heard 2 and 3 are the best in the series, so that's why it's like I'm considering watching the first 3 and then just like cutting it off. But even then, I don't know why it's.
Maybe if you're loving the 3, just keep it rolling.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm always a fan of trying to finish entire series, no matter how bad they are, and so
I will jump ship.
Well, there's certain series that I start and then occasionally try to jumpstart it again, pretty much, totally. And go back and I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't seen this one in the series, but it's been like 2 years, or whatever. Let me see to try. Maybe I can not do it. Maybe I can do it this year and knock the series out of the park, and get it over and done with. And you watch one more, and it's like, nope.
The hardest.
And for me, there's 2 series where that is the most perfect example of that for me. Children of the Corn.
Yeah, that's tough.
There's a lot of those, and it's really tough because each time I'm like, how can they take such a simple premise and screw it up? A simple it doesn't cost a lot of money to make, so that's why there's a bunch of them. But every time I watch it, I'm like, the original story was 19 pages. What is this? And the first one's the closest thing to a good movie, but it's not a good movie.
Yeah, totally.
And the other series I try is The Howling, and The Howling, the first one, great movie. Second one, so bad it's good.
I just want to watch 3. Yeah. I haven't seen 3, but I want to.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. I had my interest as a kid, looking at the VHS tape on the shelf. I'm like, oh, this looks weird and interesting, or whatever. But it turns the series into like a goofy horror comedy. It's actually like PG-13. It takes place in Australia, so the whole thing is that they're marsupial werewolves. What? And it's weird. It's just not good. And then a year or 2 went by, however, and I heard, I looked online and people talked up the 4th one, and the 4th one's like, oh yeah, no, they bring this series back into like they're trying to make it serious again, like it's more like the first movie, and I'm like, okay, cool, totally on board. Rent it, watch it. Holy God, it was bad. And I haven't watched any of them since. Yeah. But I've heard either 5 or 6. I think it's 6.
I didn't know there were that many.
There's Bon Jovi's in the 7th one, I think.
Oh my goodness.
Correctly.
Oh man, talk about red flags.
I had no idea they were that many.
The fact that sentence exists.
Yes. So the sixth one, I believe, is called The Freaks, and what I've heard, I've never seen it, but I've heard
Wow.
the series. So
I thought
werewolves.
this thing got to like 3, 4. Maybe.
No,
Yeah,
no,
right?
no, no, no.
Yeah.
There's at least 8 of these things.
Oh my god.
Damn.
Yeah, and so in 6, I've read that there's a talk show scene. Basically, it's about it being on a talk show or something like that. There's a talk show scene between a werewolf and a vampire, and they're basically just wanting to be accepted into society as living creatures or something like that. But again, I haven't seen it. That's all I know about it, and I've heard good things about it. But
It's like True Blood.
But I heard good things about the 4th one, and I was like, no, this is terrible. No.
There's
And this is way before True Blood, too.
yeah.
On that note.
That's brutal. Is there a Howling reboot in 2017?
There must be. I remember there was. So the 8th one was like a
The
Netflix
lowest
sequel.
reboot.
It was like a direct-to-video. I remember seeing it on Netflix.
Howling Reborn.
Yes, that was it.
Looking it up. It's brutal. The hardest series for me, which is a good series, is Zatoichi, just because of those links. It's 27 movies, I think.
Yeah.
Fucking lot of movies.
Have you watched all?
No, absolutely not. I got the Criterion set probably like 4 or 5 years ago, like when it came out.
That's a journey.
And then I was like, I'm fucking watching all of them. And I've tried 3 times, and I've gotten to
Do you start from the beginning of each time, or you?
Yeah, but that's I just need to like pick it up because I start from the beginning. But it's basically like some things carry over, certain characters, but for the most part, it's just like, here's a new story with this character.
That just
You know
feels
what I mean?
like episodic television.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
yeah.
really long episodic television.
But it's fucking killer.
It's
but
a
yeah, every
longest-running
time I try
series,
to,
right? Or
I think so, with the same actor.
the same actor.
I think there's been longer franchises, but
Yeah.
they changed the lead actor. But it's the same actor for all.
That's cool.
It's 26 or 27 movies. I can't remember. But yeah, so I recently tried again with TJ, and I think we got 7 in. So I'm gonna just keep it rolling.
What's the furthest you got?
I think 8. Oh, wow. Previously.
All right, cool.
So I'm like almost back. You know.
It's back to where you
Yeah,
started.
I
maybe
don't
it's
treat
less.
franchises like that. I'll watch the ones that are heralded as the good ones, and I'll cherish them. I don't know. I don't.
I find it really interesting to see how series, how a series either can fluctuate or continually nosedive. Like
But like I don't.
the
I don't-
Halloween series is like that, where it starts off really, really strong, and then just continually nosedives because the filmmakers are just stumbling over how they're trying to differentiate it or build the mythos of Michael Myers. It doesn't need to be there, and so on and so forth. And they ultimately just end up, like I said, just face planting themselves.
I suppose I feel like for a franchise like that, where it's like the bar isn't so high at the beginning, where it's like this like sacred master of horror, like, you know, work of art, you know, that is just being tarnished and dragged through mud, and you know, I mean, like The Howling is fine, but it's not like, you know, top tier werewolf.
It's not a
movie,
master.
really.
Of horror, I would say that the werewolf genre is the most difficult one to pull off, because The Howling and American Werewolf in London are really the only, pretty much the only good ones.
The Wolfman. I mean, come on. No, but there's so many.
The Wolfman.
Are you talking about the original
Yeah,
Lon
hell
Chaney?
yeah, 40.
Lon Chaney?
Dude.
Well, of
amazing.
course, that goes without
Dude,
saying.
well, I don't know.
goes
That's
without saying.
my favorite of the
I
Universal
thought
monster movies.
first I was worried you guys were talking about the Anthony Hopkins.
No. We're not- I haven't even seen the remake.
I haven't seen it either. But,
Yeah.
but I heard things. Anyway, so
I was talking about Van Helsing, actually.
No, but I mean the werewolf movie. I mean we have our ginger snaps,
Yeah.
we have our dog soldiers.
oh yeah,
like,
we have a ginger snap, we have dog
there are
soldiers,
spikes.
but it's like in terms of like the actual creature effects, there's American Werewolf in London and there's The Howling, and those are like the pinnacle achievements. And most of the time when people try to tackle werewolf, it just doesn't really work, and it's mostly because they just can't pull the effects off right. And a ginger snaps, is good. Dog Soldiers has its moments and stuff like that.
Dog
But
Soldiers,
there's always
I
something
don't
about-
like the creatures in. I mean, like they're even. You talk about the effects, yeah. I don't like that. And there are movies where they pull some of the effects off right, but not all of them. You know, you get like late phases, fucking I don't know if we could swear on this,
Oh,
but
you
can
great
absolutely
transformation sequence. But then the actual
movie.
fucking running around, and the movie.
Have you seen
but-
The Company of Wolves?
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
get
I haven't
Kristen to
seen it.
watch it. Oh, you gotta watch In
So
Company of Wolves.
I haven't seen it in ages,
Oh,
but
it's so
the wolf the few wolf transformations that are in it are
I've seen
stellar.
Brotherhood
Dude.
of the Wolf.
No. You gotta watch Brotherhood of the Wolves. Or no.
Company of Wolves.
In Company of the Wolves. I mean, seriously, like they
Neil
use
Jordan.
real wolves. They use real wolves.
Honestly,
like,
I was
there's
about
wolves
to bring up that why hasn't a werewolf movie just used real wolves?
Yeah,
So,
no, yeah.
honestly, it sounds like
There
a
you go.
fine
No,
line.
no. And not only do they get real wolves, but they're in fucking like dresses and like they're in period costumes,
Wow,
like
this sounds
at
amazing.
dining room tables. Like it's surreal. It is. And I hate fairy tale aesthetics. I hate kind of like. I mean, I always feel like
That one feels real,
period
like
movies.
like a dream. It's a dream,
Yeah.
like a kid's dream.
Think of it like
I gotta
Valerie
watch
and
this
her
thing.
Week of Wonders
Ooh, yeah, I love
as
that
a
movie.
werewolf movie.
Okay,
So
I'm fucking in.
what that does for vampires, this does I feel like for werewolves. And
Definitely in
and
on
both
that.
of those movies, they're aesthetics that for me are hurdles. Like I have to like get over that kind of tone that normally is abrasive. But like they just knock it out at the park so much that it's just so
Yeah.
stellar. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen much of Neil Jordan's other work, but like that's just a masterpiece.
I need
Company
to
of
fucking
Wolves.
watch this thing. All right, it looks like it's not out on Blu-ray in the U.S.
Neil Jordan, I think, also did a weird movie
streaming.
called The Butcher Boy.
Oh, it's
It's
streaming?
it's on Prime.
Oh shit!
Have you ever
I gotta
seen
watch
that? I think Neil. I think
No, I
The
haven't seen
Butcher?
The
Butcher Boy?
but I'm aware of it.
Oh no, I haven't. No, yeah, I've heard about it.
I haven't seen much.
I
of
have a
it.
DVD of it. It's interesting. It was one that got a real late release for a long time back in the day.
That's cool.
But interesting movie.
I also want to talk about Larry Cohen because Larry Cohen
Oh
just
yeah,
passed.
totally.
So what? My Kristen hadn't seen the stuff before, so I rewatched it with her. And I feel like it just plays better and better the more I watch it. I mean, because I remember the first time I saw the stuff, I lumped it in with like all like the 80s genre films that were kind of the same flavor. I was watching it back to back with like Street Trash and like, I don't know, maybe some Henry Lauder, and like all kinds of movies in that flavor. And like, I don't know, like it's so much better when you don't do that and you just kind of
Stands on its own a little.
yeah,
Take it for what it is.
exactly. Like it's better not lumped in with all that, and I don't know. There's something wholesome about it, and
I'd almost more with the amount of social commentary in it. I would almost more so lump it in with They Live.
sure,
Honestly, to a degree.
sure,
Yeah,
but
conceptually for sure.
Yeah.
it's
I get what you're
weird
saying
though.
about tonally though, like
Yeah,
a little-
yeah, like the effects and stuff like that are akin to those other films. But I mean, I hear you about that conspiracy, but it's weird because like They Live, I feel like is like that kind of film that somehow breaks the barrier and becomes like an that kind of film. You know what I mean? Where like the stuff is very firmly like a B.
Oh, it's
movie.
it definitely,
You know what I mean?
definitely. Oh, yeah, definitely.
not a ton of ascension with that one. But
Yeah,
it's great.
yeah. So like you don't like I don't take the message as seriously in the stuff as They Live, and I don't know why. I mean, I should like it's just as valid. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely.
But
Sure,
like
man.
it's plays much more like a romp, even though They Live is like the biggest romp of the '80s. I mean that come on, the fight sequence.
Oh, definitely.
Incredible.
what a
Masterpiece.
comedic masterpiece specifically.
I didn't
know?
know. Sorry, I just pulled up Larry Cohen's IMDb.
Yeah.
I didn't know he directed Black Caesar.
Yeah, dude. No, he's
That's
a big
crazy.
figure in the blaxploitation subgenre.
Yeah.
I mean, check
Fred
out the
Williamson,
King
man.
Cohen documentary. I
haven't
recently watched it. I think just before he passed. I mean, he was a cool director. I mean, I have a big thing with a lot of the guerrilla tactics that filmmakers like him used. I have a lot of issues with it as a filmmaker myself. I'm a big advocate for, not taking risks you don't need to take, and Larry Cohen isn't a good example of that. But at the same time, like his films do have a very admirable aesthetic to it and a very wholesome quality that I've seen compared to someone like Corman. Which I think is a little bit adapted. He feels like if Corman never went big, that's Larry Cohen, to me.
Yeah, I get that.
And like I don't know, He's, I don't know. It feels like family for cinema.
Nice.
I don't know. I mean, have you guys seen many of his films? I haven't even seen too many.
I've seen
Q is cool.
Q I've been meaning to see.
I've seen Bone. We're talking about that with Yaphet Kotto.
He did a few Masters of Horror
Black
episodes,
Caesar.
I think, or one, at least one.
I'm not sure.
Masters of Horror.
Yeah, I believe he did.
He did.
Yeah,
I saw that.
And then I've seen this stuff. And
have you seen It's
Alive? Yeah, It's Alive.
And God Told Me To.
I have not seen it. God Told Me To.
Me neither. I really want to.
I know I've seen another movie of his or two that I'm just blanking on, but yeah, the guy's done a lot. The guys did a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah,
a lot of variety.
A lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. Yeah. Stuff. I saw a screening of the stuff at a local Try movie marathon or over here in Chicago years ago, and Larry Cohen was live streamed into the theater and to introduce the film or whatever, and he just would not stop talking.
Oh yeah.
And he just kept saying he kept talking about his upcoming project and basically trying to get I can't remember if he was trying to
get funding or something?
Get funding or extras or just people to volunteer or whatever. Or I can't remember exactly, but he kept talking up like his upcoming thing and go check it out and whatever.
Did you check it out?
I don't remember what it was, but he kept talking. He kept talking and I think he talked for over an hour and then suddenly lost connection and then they weren't able to get him back again.
Over an hour?
Yeah,
to intro the movie?
Well, he just kept talking because they. I mean,
wait,
it was
this
also,
a music box of horrors or
it was a Terror in the Aisles marathon.
Man, that's insane to wait. It's like
he delayed it.
You had just watched.
He delayed it at least an hour.
Yeah.
And because it was also a Q&A kind of thing. And
okay. Well, that makes more sense.
Yeah, so it was a Q&A and an introduction of the stuff. But he just kept talking and never got and it was I think they were trying to introduce the movie and I'm not really get him to go ahead and just okay, we got to play the movie. But when he lost connection all of a sudden, I don't know if that actually was true or they cut him off and that's just what he said.
All right, we need to.
Yeah. Because they didn't bring him back, of course, but they had to just go on and play the stuff.
His last thing was messages deleted that he wrote in 2010. A screenwriting teacher is forced to live out the plot of a screenplay he stole from a student.
Woof. Woof. I don't know. Red flags all over the place for me personally.
Messages deleted is not a good title for a movie. Whatever. No.
I mean,
what are you gonna do? Dude wrote Phone Booth.
That's right. He did write Phone Booth.
All right. Well, I probably got one more that you saw. Talk about. Climax.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
I loved it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I don't know. I mean, I was definitely so I took Kristen to go see it and she took it like a straight comedy, which was hilarious to me because I don't know, the movie, it's pretty much a big bad trip for all these, dance troupe.
Do you know what it's about, Scott?
No, not really.
It's basically a dance troupe gets together. They're rehearsing this dance, and then at some point, someone's like, "I feel weird," and they realize
they're all spiked with LSD.
Yeah, spiked.
Oh yeah. You told me about this. Yeah. Okay. It's super LSD, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's just spike. I don't know. It just descends into chaos and madness, and it's like hell incarnate. I mean, and I like that he wears his influences on his sleeves with it. I actually I believe this movie and Us both have the same shot.
Yeah, they have the exact
same shot of the TV screen,
and then things that they directly reference
with their
on
influences.
VHS
Yeah, exactly. And I gotta say, but I mean, I just know Gaspar Noé, and I know his influences, so it's hard to say how much of it was direct influences for Climax versus just movies he likes. But at the same time, you could see the influence of Possession.
There's clearly a Possession reference.
Yeah, and schizophrenia, aka angst. I mean, definitely the way he filmed Climax was an homage to those films that he showed. I thought Climax was awesome because I thought the performances by the dancers were fantastic.
Yeah, they were really good.
And it's not just the dance numbers. I mean, because the dance numbers in it are insanely good, but also it's that they can act too. And I didn't really even think twice until after I left the theater that these are people that are dancing and acting. I don't know, you don't think about
Got a
the
little
acting.
hint of it, but not in a bad way.
Okay.
Because there's the sequence after they finish the dance where it's just cutting around to them
Sure.
talking,
Sure.
which I'm not saying the performances were bad, but it definitely felt like they were building just a conversational sort of thing that felt less performance-y.
Well,
You know what I mean?
it felt less performance-y, but it felt inherent to the aesthetic that he was presenting. You know what I mean? It fit. It felt like
Yeah,
they
I'm
were
not saying
presented
it-
as this
especially 'cause
real life kind of thing,
Yeah.
and it played that way.
Exactly, because you're breaking up. Because there's the kind of spectacle version of how it's been executed, where it's all really long shots, wide shots,
Right.
and then
Really,
they're,
really long shots.
yeah. And then they're cutting it up, and it's just little bits of dialogue. And I'm not, I like those sequences, but they definitely felt to me like sequences of non-actors that you just shot talking for a long time, and then you kind of build it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Of course.
Which I don't.
Of course.
I'm not saying is bad, but
Of course.
But I liked the movie, but I absolutely loved the dance parts.
Yeah.
I was
agree.
just this movie is fucking awesome.
I was
The
literally
first,
I was at work
30, 40
spinning my
minutes.
arms
Yeah,
switching
just,
directions and being
playing
like
bangers and it's all
Yeah.
these really cool dance moves and it's really well choreographed. The shots are cool.
and then
and then
they got window liquor playing and you're just
Yeah.
oh my god, I'm fucking
It
the
was
grandma's boy
sweet.
character.
And then I was literally it felt within 5 seconds of me thinking I'm finally just gonna fucking love one of his movies. You know what I mean? This is it. Bring it on, bud. And then it was oof, maybe not though. Then I was oof,
Which-
when you ate something good, but then later you're man, that's
Real bad
My stomach doesn't
indigestion.
like that.
What, the ending or
No,
what?
just I don't know, when I get it, he's doing the weird title thing, cutting to all the people who did the music for that section and giving
Right.
credit to the musicians, but then he flashes his own name 4 times in that, and it's just I don't know how I feel about that. I don't really like that.
Oh, I love that part of it.
I don't like that pompous shit. We watched
House of Jack Belt.
House of Jack Built, not into Lars von Trier cutting
Okay,
himself
but
into the movie.
I
Not
I
into it.
don't think it's the same. I think it's
the
different.
same.
I think
it's him
different.
putting himself on the level of Giorgio Moroder, who did the music.
I
And it's
think
just
he's making fun of
I'm-
himself.
I don't. I think he takes himself really seriously.
I don't.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's that difference.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because I feel like he's trying to be excessive, and he's the only way he can be excessive with his titles is flashing his name 4 times like that.
I mean, it's not excessive enough to show the soundtrack of your movie in fake neon for 1 minute.
Oh, it is, because he does the best title sequences of our generation. Enter the Void is the best since
It's
2000.
cool. It's cool.
I
for
mean,
sure.
honestly, he uses title sequences as a tool to create tone and pacing and energy and a feeling in
Yeah.
the audience that is one of a kind.
But my problem is I guess maybe it's me being cynical because I have this preconceived notion of him, but him showing the credits of the soundtrack halfway through the movie doesn't feel to me like he's these artists, these, I'm giving credit to these artists. It feels to me look how cool my music taste is. Here's my name. Me. They're this is you know what I mean? It feels like he's just I like Aphex Twin. I like Giorgio Moroder. I have cool music tastes. And yeah, you were thinking, what was that song that was just playing? here it is, dude.
I don't know.
But-
I see it as fodder as he merely needed letters to throw at you, and so he
I can see
pulled
that,
whatever
too.
letters
Like,
he
was just
needed.
like, whatever. I don't.
Yeah,
I
like
want text here.
exactly. He needed to fill text as part of that, like, kind of break in the structure of the film or whatever.
My other main issue with the movie, and I guess this is gonna sound really stupid at first, but is like, how much LSD did they put in that? Because they're like, they freak out to an extent that is unrealistic to me.
Is it unrealistic to you? Because
Like,
I don't know. It's not unrealistic to me. I don't know.
I don't know if how
Have
much
you-
acid I did. If I was on acid, that I would be chanting with other people for someone to kill themselves. Like, I get the hair accidentally getting caught on fire, or just like going to a room and being scared and freaking out and screaming, like the possession scene or whatever.
Right.
But the scene where the girl's like, she's like cutting herself and everyone's like, kill yourself. It's like, what? This is
okay.
crazy. Like, no one would ever do this.
But
you just want to like connect with everyone and like.
I was gonna say, if there's a group doing something, I mean, that's the thing about LSD it's all about the group of people you're with and the environment you're with. And so if the group and environment goes a certain direction, you're either going or not going, and it's way harder to not go.
You never heard about all those LSD suicide cults?
Yeah, well, you know.
I don't know. I mean, I've had it.
Sounds a little far fetched to me as somebody who hasn't seen the movie, but again, I haven't seen.
Yeah,
the
that's
movie.
true. Well,
I
what were you
mean,
gonna say?
I don't know. I just feel like it's really hard to tell. I mean, like, I hear you where it's like you want to pick apart like this is realistic on LSD and this is not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like it's something where it'll surprise you. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And it can subvert those expectations just so easily, and that's kind of the nature of what it is.
I just didn't.
in a way.
I didn't really understand.
But
And
what-
I didn't have a problem with necessarily anything else that happened as a result of it. It was mainly that part.
Can
Like,
I
they
ask?
want her to kill herself? You know what I mean? Like,
But it was a momentary thing. Like I'm sure none of them
Yeah.
wanted her to kill herself.
yeah, I guess they're just like out of their mind.
It was just a chanting thing that they're chanting this sound, and suddenly everyone's chanting this sound, and it happens to be "kill yourself" is the
Yeah.
sound. But okay, I mean, and those criticisms are valid. I mean, and I think I was expecting it to be more extreme in content, and you know, there were things, but there was also a lot to like. So I mean, I'm
Oh, yeah,
curious
there
what
was
you
one.
enjoyed.
I like I said, I absolutely fucking loved the first like half of the movie.
Yeah.
First half is cherry. I liked it visually throughout.
Yeah.
I guess for me, like, I didn't necessarily dislike it because inherently it's just the concept of the movie that like everything goes crazy. But if the movie just was them dancing and then they like talked about stuff and then they danced more, like, I probably would have liked it more.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
if the second half was also just like really cool dance scenes and it was just like a cool dance movie, I think I would have liked it more.
Sure.
But I don't know.
And what other movies of his have you seen? I'm
I've
just curious.
seen.
And you too, Scott. I don't know what
I've seen
Gaspar.
Enter the Void. I liked it.
I
the
haven't
first
seen
time.
Irreversible.
I haven't seen Irreversible either.
You
I've
both have not seen Irreversible?
I know.
It is the best of the new French Extremity.
So,
My
I've seen
goodness.
Enter the
Not
Void.
my scene.
I mean,
liked
it's not anyone's
I've seen
scene.
Love,
It's
too.
nobody watches Irreversible because it's their scene. That's to be fair. Kristen also laughed throughout Irreversible, and that's how I knew I found the woman I wanted to marry. like I was fucking reeling as like a veteran of like genre cinema, just like in my most uncomfortable state, and she's cracking up like, oh, so a gay club is scary, huh? Like, oh man, but like, I don't know. I mean, have you seen Carne and I Stand Alone? That's a double
No.
feature, and then
No.
but you both have seen
think-
Enter the Void.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked it the
I
first
think
time I
I've
saw
seen-
it, and did not like it the second time I saw it.
It's an abrasive film.
Yeah.
I only saw it once, and I felt like it was abrasive intentionally, and that was part of the message, almost like a Spring Breakers. What Spring Breakers is for Spring Break culture, I thought Enter the Void was for hallucinogenic culture.
Yeah, I think so, but I think Enter the Void indulges in it more.
Yeah. It has, yeah, sure, absolutely.
Because I feel like Spring Breakers, like, it indulges in it in quotes, but like while it's doing it, it's like terrifying. But I think part of Into the Void, I mean, part of it is that it's terrifying, but part of it is like literally trying to recreate the experience that, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's kind of, I don't know. I've only seen it one time too.
I highly recommend.
I'm just torn on him. It's like aspects of his movies I love, and I'm like, this is really cool, and this is a cool idea. And parts I'm just like, I don't know. I personally I'm not into. It's like I think the way you tell a story is enough of a stamp to put on your movie. I don't need to be reminded of you as a person while I'm watching it. That's for me.
I agree with that.
That's fair. I mean, that's fine. But I mean, I think. Beyond that, I mean, his work is worth checking out.
Yeah. I'm not saying, like, I went and saw Climax in theaters. Like, I've never been like, I fucking love this movie of his. You know what I mean? But I was still like, I gotta, like, see it. You know what I mean? And that's the place to do it, too.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. I just recommend. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth seeing, for sure.
Yeah. Cool.
And it sounds like I'm overall negative on the movie, which I'm not.
No, I don't think you are. Think you are. I mean, his movies do create this conversation with yourself. And I think that's part of what I like about him is that I have to come out of the movie being like, that made me really upset.
Yeah.
I feel really bad.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this because I feel like him and Lars are in like a similar like.
I don't know enough about Lars. I've only seen Antichrist and I've only seen The House that Jack Built. I have not seen the majority.
I've Antichrist as well.
But, yeah, and so like he's just this huge director.
Oh, I've seen also parts of Dancer in the Dark.
Okay,
right.
I feel like there's an attempt. I feel like they place a lot of their importance on intentionally playing with the audience, which is fine. I'm not saying that's a negative, but there's times where I can like feel their choices.
Yeah.
And
I
agree.
Climax had that with me. Where there's a few
like,
times where they're using the dance as trying to like be like atmosphere, but I saw right through it. And actually almost segueing, like I felt like Us had similar things.
Yeah, totally. Where you can kind of like
I can
see
tell.
through the movie
Exactly.
and you're like, yeah, I'm like visualizing them like writing on a laptop, like laughing at me,
or
and
like
it's just like fuck you, and he, like I don't want to like fall victim to it, but sometimes it works. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, I don't know. Watch it.
Yeah, worth seeing. It's interesting.
Climax.
And honestly, if you don't like stuff that's scary, watch the first like 50 minutes. Just go to bed.
No. Watch the whole thing. Watch the whole thing. Watch.
I must finish where I started.
Listen to the child.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, worth watching. Will anyone have anything else they want to touch on, or should we move on to us?
Let's see.
I mean, I have plenty of movies I watched recently, but that could be a podcast that lasts forever.
We're at 50 minutes here, so maybe we should just carry on over, unless you have anything, Scott.
No, I watched Opera on the way earlier today before I came
New
over
restoration. How'd it look?
Looked good.
Honestly,
Looked good.
Scott,
I still fell asleep though, but looked good.
Honestly, I'm dying to know. Did you watch the 235 or the 178?
Oh my god, he's dying to know.
Both are supplied on the Blu-ray, correct?
Right. I watched 235.
I was gonna say 235 is the way to go.
I watched 235. I'll of course watch the other one because again I fell asleep towards the end. Opera's just too long for what it is. I feel honestly.
It really is. Yeah,
it's too long.
I have issues. I don't like the score.
And then the other cut is I found this out, looked on Blu-ray.com. Apparently, so there's the third disc is the Orion U.S. release cut or whatever, which I guess is shorter or whatever the heck. But apparently they released it in the wrong aspect ratio, so some people are up in arms about that a bit, I guess. And there's also a problem with an Italian track or something like that. But
Dang.
I mean, I'm gonna most of that doesn't. I don't personally care because I'll watch most Italian movies in English anyway.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, because I mean, Argento movies especially.
Yeah, because I mean everything's dubbed.
Yeah, but I mean
Every
most
version.
Italian horror movies are like horror wasn't big in Italy, so Italian horror is like this weird subgenre where it's marketed made for foreign audiences.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in mind, you can watch it in either, really.
Yeah.
And because it's dubbed regardless, if it had natural production sound,
then you go
obviously
off the
you
bat.
watch for that. But
There are just times where I've
Yeah.
on one that's dubbed with both languages, because I usually, like in that case, Argento movie, you opt for the English.
yeah.
But I can't recall which one. But sometimes there's ones that are just like really bad. I'm like, I just gotta switch over. Like really distracting.
It depends. I guess it depends how early it is. Like Blood and Black Lace is probably a little better to watch in Italian. I still like to watch in English, but the dubbing is really off. But it depends, and also with some movies like like Fulci's dreamlike stuff, like I would say it's even better dubbed just because it makes it more dreamlike and weird.
That's interesting.
like,
I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah. I embrace the dubbing as a stylistic choice, and also embrace the fact that when everything's dubbed like that, the filmmaker theoretically can make it sound exactly the way he wants to. If he
Makes me want to go rewatch some Fucci movies.
Yeah.
Woman's Skin or something.
Yeah, watch The Gates of Hell that way,
Right?
But yeah,
It's a good movie.
so the whole trilogy is the
Yeah,
Gates
yeah.
of Hell trilogy. But yeah,
Yeah.
Gates of Hell, City of the Living Dead is a great example of that because a lot of the actors are speaking English because in most Italian movies, people would speak whatever language they knew on set, and the other actor would just have to rely on like, okay, I'm going to trust that person said his line correctly, and I'll say my line. And you can kind of tell that. You can kind of tell that in certain scenes because not just because the dialogue won't match up, but just the performance and how the actors act off of each other. You can tell there's something.
There's a disconnect.
There's a disconnect. Yeah. And so it's very interesting from that angle. But on top of that, within City of the Living Dead, the main fortune teller, you can totally tell she is not speaking English, but most of the main cast is English speaking and stuff. And so most of the time they do their own voice, and you might hear like the other person like, and when you watch the Italian cut, you can tell, oh yeah, that's actually their voice because it matches up better, or not. Some people just never dub themselves or whatever. You could recognize certain voice actors. Oh, the detective from this movie is the guy from Cannibal Holocaust, or the voice from Cannibal Holocaust, so or something like that. So that kind of makes the whole thing interesting, and also that makes you can watch the same movie twice and get different things out of it. So you can watch Mario Bava's Black Sabbath is a prime example of this. So the two different cuts. Have you seen the two different cuts of Black Sabbath?
No, not in close enough. I think I have, but not in close enough proximity where I would.
Okay.
I don't know if I have. I've seen it a few times, but
okay. So
I don't know.
So for those not to know, Black Sabbath is an anthology movie of 3 stories, and the two cuts are very different. The perfect cut is somewhere in between the two of them. So not only is it just edited differently, and obviously the different languages, but the color temperatures are adjusted differently. The order of the stories is differently. There's There's completely different footage. The sound design is different.
Really?
Yeah, it's really interesting. And on the Arrow video release, there's a video that compares the two side by side. You can see and hear the differences. So that's really interesting. But specifically in the of the 3 stories, there's one story, the telephone, that's a giallo story, and in that you have there's a lesbian subplot that's totally just like between 2 characters. There's basically 3 characters in the story: the murderer who's calling this girl and harassing her, and then she invites a friend over or something or another, if I'm remembering correctly. But in the Italian cut, you get this lesbian subtext between the two of them that adds another depth to the story and why this guy who's calling wants to kill them or whatever, and that's just totally absent in the English-speaking version. So in things that's a very blatant example of it, but but different lines are phrased differently in the Italian cut versus of a movie or just the audio versus the English, and so you can get different things out of the same movie. There's more than one way to watch them. So that's, if you're into that,
more mileage.
Yeah, you get more mileage out of one movie. It's interesting that way,
For sure.
So there you go.
Hell yeah.
And then what else? I also watched. Let's see.
One more quick. We're an hour in.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. Sorry. And I also watched Strip Nude for Your Killer for the first time, which was
I haven't seen that.
a fun ride. I thought. I had my hopes low, and not an amazing piece of giallo cinema, but
it
but
seems
a
like
fun
it'll be
sleazy
better.
one. A fun sleazy one for sure.
Cool.
It's equally cruel to both men and women, basically, and it does it without being like not misogynistic, basically.
Do the men strip nude for the killer?
Yes.
Okay, how much dick is in the movie?
I think there's a little bit of dick, but
Just
there,
so like a fraction of one penis, or like brief flashes of multiple penises?
There's some
Quarter dick.
If I remember correctly, there is some flashing,
Okay.
but just it basically ridicules everybody, and there's this one guy in particular who's just like, this dude is pathetic, and we're gonna show how pathetic he is, and you're not gonna feel any ounce of sympathy towards him before we dispatch this guy.
That's funny.
So that happens in it, and I was pleasantly surprised because the same director, Andrea, I can't remember his last name, but he also did the movie Burial Ground, which I hated.
Yeah, Burial Ground
Slow.
is a movie.
It's a movie, yeah.
Peter
It's
Falk,
super
huh?
slow.
Peter Falk.
If you like zombies who use tools, I guess it's cool.
Bite off a nipple.
Incestual bite off a nipple. But it just wasn't good. Strip Nude for Your Killer was way better. The dialogue in the movie is just ridiculous. Edwidge Fenwick is fantastic in it. Tons of J&B bottles. You got your leather clad motorcycle helmet killer. The ridiculous twist at the end. Of course, it's got everything you want in a giallo, but it's like super sleazy because literally every person is naked when they're killed. It's basically because it takes place.
Funny.
The victims are like in a fashion photography industry. The main character isn't a good character either. It's just like this ridiculous not anti-hero, but he's this a sexist fashion photographer dude, and so you're like, I shouldn't feel sympathy towards him, but okay, I guess whatever, let's go along for the ride. It's ridiculous. It's worth checking out.
It's on the list. It's kind of lower down there, but it does.
I've seen far worse giallo.
Exactly.
Giallo.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys.
All
Well,
right. Us time.
I need to. Well, before that,
Yes.
I need to just make sure you guys remember.
Oh yeah.
A really important deal. Scott, do you want some more details on this deal? A little refresher.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah. I actually.
How much content?
How much content?
Right. How
are we
much?
talking
So
about?
I
we're
only
talking
live so
about
long.
like
How long?
30
My
to
life.
45 seconds of content right now.
What?
No, Audible has way more content.
Oh,
than that.
Audible. I thought you meant how much content am I about to say. Audible has over 180,000 titles.
I was gonna say.
How many
And
titles
I
can you
thought
listen
we
to?
were
I
talking
just
about
wanna
Audible.
real quick touch on that. You can get your free audiobook and a 30-day free trial with download. To check out the service, all you gotta do is you go to audibletrial.com/LTURAM and you get your free audiobook. 180,000 titles. I don't know how many hours that is, but quite a few. At least minimum 180,000 hours.
I got it. I got it down. I'm gonna watch
How
them
many-
all. I'm
so
gonna
how-
listen to them all. I'm gonna read
That's
them all.
108,000. So that's your guesstimate for how many
That's
hours you
my
could
minimum.
possibly listen to
That's my
within the
minimum.
span of
Because
30,
if there's
31 days.
180,000 titles, I'm assuming they're each about an hour.
It's okay. I'm turning
Alright, cool.
29. I got about 50 years left in me. 180,000
Slam 'em all,
titles.
man.
Let's just do the math. We're making it work.
Let's be a completist here and
Yeah.
just listen to everything on Audible. Well, you can get your first one free, if you sign up at audibletrial.com/LTURAM. You know what I mean?
Audibles.
All right, so now let's get into Us, and I think we.
Oh man,
Might
I've
have
been
a
meaning
clip
to
here?
see that movie.
God damn it.
To take the date out of the bag.
That's a classic right there.
What does I got 5 on it mean?
It's about drugs.
It's not about drugs. It's a dope song. Don't do drugs.
Get in rhythm. There you go. There you go. Can't believe how big they've got.
Did you hear Gabe got a boat?
He's kidding, right?
He's not kidding.
Hey, I think it's vodka o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Where's Jason?
Jason?
Where were you? I didn't know if you were lost. Stick with me, and I'll keep you safe.
There's a family in our driveway.
It's probably the neighbors. But y'all scared of a family?
Hi, can I help you?
Zora, put your shoes on.
If you want to get crazy, we can get crazy.
What are you people?
It's us.
All right, so that was from Us, and yeah, let's chat Us, boys. What'd you guys think?
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done. I mean, I don't think it's as convenient as Get Out was. I mean, if we're just going to compare them right off the bat.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it was as convenient. And I know initially, like, I felt like I had missed some things. But really, I mean, that was just my fault. I mean, I think it requires a more active viewership than Get Out. And I think the way that it leaves some of the exposition open-ended is more of an opportunity than a downfall. And I really just thought across the board that it knocked it out of the park in almost every category, particularly the scoring, the casting.
The score was fucking amazing.
The casting was also amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, this is the best Eric Wareheim performance we've seen yet. I mean, this is literally career-changing for Eric Wareheim.
Tim Heidecker,
Oh, fuck.
but
Ooh.
for sure.
I was like, wait a second. It
All good.
was all good. Forgiven.
Anyway, but I mean, him and Elizabeth Moss were some
Yeah.
of the best parts of the movie.
Mhm.
And I mean, I thought, everybody wants to jump on what it did wrong to knock it down from being a perfect movie or whatever. But I feel like there's just so much that it did right. And I feel like all of the things that it did right deserve so much more conversation than any faults that people had after like a first initial rush viewing or something. Yeah, I don't know. I think I killed it. I think it's almost deeper than Get Out and thematically.
I would say there's more to kind of pull from. Like, I
Yeah.
think Get Out, it has a very focused purpose. Like, it definitely sets out, like, to make a point and makes it. Whereas I feel like this kind of...
It's much more of a conversation piece, I feel.
Yeah, totally. But I guess I just...
Like what we're doing right now.
Yeah. I definitely liked the movie. I thought it was very watchable. I thought it was visually a lot better than Get Out. But I don't want to say it like it's necessarily negative. It wasn't as satisfying, and I know it's not supposed to be. But part of, I guess, like, the line between intention versus, like, perception, and, like, how much do you intend versus, like, how much do you rely on, like, what people take away from it? You know what I mean? Whereas, like, I feel like you kind of, because we saw it together, I feel like you kind of felt the same way, where when we left, it was kind of like, And you brought it up, like, what am I missing here?
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know.
And that's something that I felt kind of immediately after my first watch.
Yeah.
Is that, like, I had missed some crucial exposition to, like, wrap it all up and this and that. But also, I think that ends up being part of the strength of it. And I think that'll make it better to rewatch. I think every time you
Definitely.
see it, it's going to give you more back than Get Out would, because at a certain point, you Get Out. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you get everything. And I feel like, you can pull us in so many different directions that are all intentional to a certain extent. And that's part of why, I don't know, I think it's so strong. I mean, there are some things about it that were kind of like, to me, but at the same time, I just think there were so many more that were, it was just cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the performances from pretty much all of the talent was fantastic. I think it's tonally really interesting. I mean, I think it really did balance between the comedy and the horror really well. Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it. What can I say?
Scotty?
Overall, I liked it a lot. It's a unique movie. At least I believe it is. Maybe I haven't seen enough home invasion movies, but it's a unique movie, which is a super important thing to be able to say in the horror genre.
In any genre.
In any
That's
genre, but
unique.
especially horror genre by in this day and age when almost everything's been done to death.
Is that true though? I don't believe that to be true at all. It's true. I don't.
Well,
believe it
you
to
got to
be
do a
true.
lot of digging.
We're-
That's what I'm
horror-
saying. You still have to. You have to do a lot of digging to find good stuff. And if
But
stuff
it's
wasn't
there.
done to death, you wouldn't have to do a lot of digging. That's
It's
what I'm saying.
well, I don't know. It's the infinity genre. That's why you have to do the digging,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
because
Big
it's a
pool.
genre that never ends. You
Yeah.
can
Right,
do
well,
anything.
okay, well,
anything.
Nitpicking, but anyway. Overall, real good. The comedy was the comedic relief points, without being blatant comedic relief, were great. Everything, like you said, visually, a lot of visual improvements in comparison to Get Out.
Definitely a lot more slick.
And
So
I
looks really good.
I personally, at least right now, I feel like I like Get Out more.
I'd probably agree.
Overall, I mean maybe because Get Out has like the subtleties to it that maybe you'd catch upon watching a second time, but you didn't get a second. We were talking about it, but you didn't get a second viewing in.
No,
yet, right?
I did not.
Yeah, it's definitely a movie I'd say to require a second viewing to catch more stuff, but also just like my one and major complaint about the movie is I still don't, at least right now, I still don't understand. How do I say this? The functionality.
Me
of
too.
Everything.
Me too. That was a
why,
big thing.
like of the like a lot of stuff. Just like there's a lot of things I'll think about, and it just won't make any sense.
You know what?
And because one thing leads to another, and it's like, well, then this and this and this, and
I think that's a point for me where I don't know what the solution is, because I don't want a scene of them all sitting around explaining everything to me.
oh yeah, no,
and
that's
they give it
fucking
to you
bogus.
anyway.
But they give me enough that it just opens the door for more questions.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe if they wouldn't have given me that nugget, then maybe I wouldn't
Right.
have been thinking
But at the
about
same-
it, and I
at
would've
the
just
same
enjoyed it
time,
more.
I don't want to see this should Us should serve as a standalone movie. I don't want to see a sequel.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs a sequel.
Here's the thing. I agree with you, and I felt like coming out of it, I had either missed something where I didn't pay attention to a really crucial point, and I didn't understand the logistics of how some of the entities worked, or I felt like either I missed it or it wasn't there, and I do think it is all there. I think everything that we need to construct the logic of how everything works is in there. I think everybody is generally taken aback about how active they had to watch it to catch it. You know what I mean? Like I had very specific things where it was like, how come this is this and not that? You know what I mean? And I get that, but like I feel like as time has gone on, perhaps I was the one that was wrong in that sentence.
All right.
Sense. And so, I mean, I think it just has to be taken as a different kind of film. You know.
Oh well, yeah, it's definitely a different kind of film.
It's
than
not
Get Out specifically.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a sit back, relax popcorn movie.
Yeah.
If you want it to tie up in that way. If you want it to tie up in that way, you're going to have to kind of pay attention and do some thinking.
But it's weird for me because I feel like certain aspects of the movie are tied up neatly at the end.
Yeah.
It's a movie where everything that they lay out in the like first 30, 40 minutes 100% will come back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like down to like little
the
details,
main plot
which
point.
I guess
it's minutia.
I don't.
It's minutia.
Yeah, but there's no sort of like red herring where it's just like, oh, that's just like a thing. You know what I mean? Like literally everything is neatly tied at the end. So to have these big questions that you kind of open the door to be asked and to not tie those up while everything else is kind of like packaged together, I feel it kind of has like a weird disconnect when it's over. And I still think the movie's very watchable. Yeah. I liked how horror it was over Get Out. Like I feel like it's definitely a push farther into being like more of a genre movie.
Sure.
I enjoyed that while Get Out was unanimously a subject of race. This was a subject. Us was a subject of class. And
really, I've heard that. I think Us is a subject of media and media, the way media influences you, and how it either creates these doubles of us, but also the doubles were totally influenced by their own media, and that's why their Hands Across America and Thriller and this and that is because they're just a mess of the media that they took in before they all went insane, right? And I don't know. I mean, I think that's part of why Us is cool is because we can take all these different things from it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not cookie cutter. Get Out, great. Get Out again. Get Out is great. But in comparison, it's cookie cutter. It's everything, pretty much everything. Like you said, everything. Like you guys said, everything is kind of spelled out. You see it once, and you'll catch more stuff maybe on seeing it a second time. And there's a lot of little subtle imagery things. Like, what is Jordan Peele saying with this, or whatever, you know? Yeah. Right. But there's a lot more of that with Us.
Yeah,
a lot of things I didn't catch. I didn't realize that the glove was a Michael Jackson reference until a Michael Jackson Thriller reference until this morning when I woke up and all of a sudden just thought about it randomly. I'm like, oh, that's what that was about.
I mean,
so
my
I'm still
question
curious
is,
about the red pajamas, but the glove makes sense now.
That stuff, I mean, I didn't really think about too much when I was watching it. I was more concerned with how the actual logistics of everything worked. I mean, if I could.
That took priority more. That was just like one little thing that I thought about.
If I can dive into spoilers a little bit.
Are we at that point?
Well, let's wrap up our general thoughts and then we can just. Okay. I feel like a lot of what we're talking about, it's a hard movie to talk about without.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? So
I don't know. Have I spoiled anything? I might have. I didn't really think about it.
No, I think we've all been talking.
I think we've said things, but they've been vague enough that they don't make sense.
It's a high concept movie. That's what people need to understand. Is that it you know,
definitely high concept.
Go into it thinking. Go into it questioning.
I would say I think it's definitely a visual step up. I think the cinematography was really good, and just the way that it like worked and was staged, I thought was really nice. The score is fucking incredible.
The score was the biggest standout thing during watching it, and the soundtrack. Yeah, the soundtrack. But I mean,
and then the incorporation of the "I've Got 5 on it" in the score later in the movie.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
No, I agree. The score really did stand out to me, almost more than the acting. I mean, yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was definitely a technical step up. It's hard to judge because I feel like it's a movie with that, like, the more you watch it, the better it'll be. Or, I mean, potentially show its seams more. But Get Out was such, like, a nice, satisfying bow on the end that it's just, like, very nice, you know?
Yeah.
So it's hard because you just automatically want to compare the two, even though they're completely different
Yeah.
things. But yeah. So like, I don't know. I definitely enjoyed it and think it's very watchable and worth seeing.
I think it's an important film too. I mean,
Oh, sorry.
I mean, really, I mean, just like, I mean, talking about, you know, all of the socio-political kind of things that are happening right now. I mean, in this country, for this movie to come out and, you know, go at number one, I mean, it says a lot about everything. I mean, and I think the stakes are higher with it, and so I think that it's looked at differently than you know, Pet Sematary is going to be looked at, or you know, any of these other movies that you know we've seen time and time again, because not only is it an original, new, and unique voice, but it's one of the zeitgeist. And so I think when something is tied to a zeitgeist, I mean, it takes a significance that, you know, holds, I don't know, more weight than something that is not. I mean, and so I think that's kind of something that automatically makes it something where you have to look hard at, just because, like, what makes it part of the zeitgeist exactly?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, obviously, you know, at the forefront is the racial issue, and Jordan Peele, you know, making characters for a black audience with black actors and this and that. But then it's also about the zeitgeist of the themes that are behind it, which, you know, specifically in Us, I think is more than just the racial issues that he presents in the production of the film.
Definitely.
Should we get into spoilers?
Yeah, absolutely.
They look exactly like us. They think like us. They know where we are. We need to move and keep moving. They won't stop until they kill us. Or we kill them.
Be careful.
Yeah,
Let it loose.
Spoilers.
yeah. I mean,
Save yourself. You
so-
had something that you were about to say before we started to wrap it up. Do you remember the point you were?
Well, I mean, I think in spoilers, I mean, I have questions. You know, I think we all have questions about the mythology. I think what it pulls off is good. I love the way that it uses setup and payoff. I think specifically in the writing of it, it's really well done. In, you know, with things like the motorboat kill. And you know, just each specific death scene, and I love the way that it kind of fourth walls itself with like horror movie logic as what's gonna work, you know, for them versus what isn't. Because, you know, I don't know, some characters have tried that before. I mean, I obviously I feel like I have questions about who controls who with like the tethered, you know,
Because it kind of drops off, and I guess there's the point that could be made that when she entered, she started to like break the habit of them being directly mimicking them.
but even her arc,
But-
I didn't
Yeah,
get like
because
I
the
didn't,
boy also uses it at the end, and
Exactly.
that's the only time we're seeing it happen outside of that scene.
Exactly.
Which she's not also that way beforehand. So like, what's the logic there?
Exactly. I mean, and I do feel like all the answers are there, and that I just missed it, or that it's naturalized and internalized. I don't know if it's externalized, but I think it is internalized. Like I think it's there. Like I don't think it's an oversight. Like I used to, like coming out of the movie, I said it was the best movie a movie with plot holes could be. Right?
Yeah, which I get that.
I'll agree with that.
But the more time I sit on it, the less I think there actually are plot holes, and the more I think it's just things left unsaid that I thought might have been crucial exposition that maybe is not crucial exposition. Maybe it's those small moments that like I needed, definition or framing for, that ends up you don't really need it because like it can exist on its own.
I guess my thing is that if they're going the way where you like, because I don't think you need explanation for everything that's happening here,
Right?
Like obviously, but then I don't want to hear any of it. Kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause
The
she
exposition
talks a little
scenes
bit.
are
She's like,
a
well,
drag.
it's like
I
this
agree.
government experiment, and they cloned us.
And she says that, doesn't she say that that's her guess or what she thought? She doesn't know that for sure.
But it's like, well, then don't tell me anything.
Yeah, then don't tell me
Because now
anything.
I have this in my head, and now I'm asking myself questions while I'm watching the movie, and it's distracting me from a movie that's very enjoyable and easy to
but
watch,
what if you're supposed to be asking questions, and what if
But
it's
the
used
questions-
as a bait for conversation?
I get that, but it didn't incite the kind of questions, thematic questions. It incited practical questions.
Sure. How
Where
did
it's
this
like-
work? How did A, B, and
It's
C
like,
work?
what's the significance of this
Yeah.
fun house? Why is there a door outside of this place if the government shut it down?
Why
and
would
doesn't
you
care
have
about anyone?
why would you have the access point to a government?
Yeah,
presumably government like doppelganger facility at a funhouse.
And why is there an access point anyway if they give up on this experiment and
Yeah,
leave everyone to die? Why would they
it-
just leave a door?
But my question is, does it matter?
But that's the question. It doesn't matter. But then why am I prompted to think about that?
Yeah.
By knowing that it's a government experiment.
And on top of that,
I don't need to know
she
that
thinks
at that point.
she
You know
says
what
Do you
I mean?
think everybody was prompted?
she says that
Maybe not,
She says
That
that
might just
she
be
thinks
me.
that they did it to control people, and it's just like, well, how would making doppelgangers of people control people?
I get that though.
And then on top, and then when sorry, it's hard to know what to refer to who is and who.
Yeah.
Which version of the girl or the woman?
Pizza's
I mean, that was a big
the
question of mine
mom.
as
Which
well.
version
Like,
of the mom? Which version of the mom?
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
Can I ask you at the end?
to refer to? But I guess the original, right?
Yeah.
When she lectures them at the couch, and she says basically doesn't she say like because you fell in love, then I had a mate, or because you had kids, I had kids.
Because all their actions are mimicked.
Right,
below.
right. But how does that? So if somebody up above does something, that automatically happens to their doppelganger. But if because of, again, we're in spoiler town. This is your warning. So this is your triple warning. At the end, when she's revealed, that there actually was a swap.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then why would that automatically just happen to the original person if the doppelganger is above ground now?
Yeah,
Why?
I don't really know.
I don't understand that.
I also don't know
I
how
think
if someone is being controlled by someone else, how they would leave the place.
Yeah.
But that's also like another. That's like there's these like stupid practical questions that I
Exactly.
like, don't want to ask myself.
It's stupid
but I
practical
feel-
stuff that just doesn't make any sense, and I was like, no, I need
have
some
to let it
clarification.
go.
But
I mean, that's the thing with
and
the
then
movie.
why would
Yeah.
a government research doppelganger facility like that, if it was to control people to that degree, they just leave them to die and leave them to feed off of presumably feed off of rabbits, and that's why there's all the tons of rabbits
Yeah,
there.
I guess it just it like shatters it a little bit because it's like if it's something that I feel like has all the answers in mind, it like I don't know, it makes me not. I guess the opposite of where I'm not assured that everything's there.
Yeah,
because
Sure.
it's like these feel like weird oversights.
Sure, and that's absolutely. I agree with you. I felt like that coming out of it, right?
Yeah,
but like, I don't know. I mean,
you had a question about the end though. You were about to say.
Well, I
something
was just gonna ask at the end if you guys thought it was the doppelgangers or the real people. I mean, because I almost thought at a certain point there was like a function of the lore where if you killed your own doppelganger, your doppelganger possessed you. And I thought that was why the boy turned his mask down, right? As a nod to his doppelganger that always wore the mask. And as a nod to, you know,
and
the whole family killed their own doppelgangers, you know?
Yeah,
And so
the
it's
kid
like
trying to do his magic trick with the lighter every time was what was maybe burning.
And it becomes like the thing at the end,
deformed.
you know, where everybody's like, finally we can reveal our own identities to each other because we are all switched. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys had anything like that.
For me, I thought,
interesting idea.
Personally, with the twist at the end, I like assumed that they had swapped the whole movie.
Yeah, and
like at the end when they present it, I was just like, "Oh, this is a big reveal." I just like thought this was like
I was expecting it. This. I was like expecting some kind of swap like that the whole movie.
Yeah,
but then like, yeah, I mean, it wasn't really confirmed until I felt like the end. But then I also wondered the logistics with the mother. You know, with the swapping. So did it go from the real mother to the fake mother or the fake mother to the real mother? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like who's swapping who? Because like, since they swapped and then lost the memory of it or something, right?
Well, no, I don't think they lost the memory. I think they're each full well of the swap happening, right?
Oh, so you think the weird voice mother at the beginning was actually the little girl that was not a doppelganger.
Yes.
Explaining to the doppelganger her own life that she had already lived. So it was redundant.
Well,
explaining to the twin, being like, you swapped with me, but here's how it is.
Well, I don't think it's redundant because I think it's her
explanation is the logistics of that explanation is just
I think it's her narrowing her point of being like you fucked me like my whole life, like you fucked me now, you fucked me when this happened, you did this, you did this. It's like it's the equivalent of every villain monologue in any like action movie or something.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I I didn't have necessarily a problem with that, but maybe I'm wrong in assuming that that's what happened. But that is like what I assumed from the start of the movie. Like I had it in my head that they had swapped the whole time. So then when it came up at the end and it felt like this like crazy twist that they were trying to pull, I was like, oh, I thought I was like supposed to know that already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I didn't think it was confirmed. I thought it was speculation.
Yeah, I suppose.
You know, I mean, like I had like, you know, forethought about it, but like it wasn't like concrete. I don't know.
Well, didn't they show the girls switching shirts?
Yeah,
not
well,
until later.
Yeah.
I mean,
but they confirmed.
Not until later. When they confirmed that there was a swap.
Is, like, they didn't.
I'm talking about straight up
point.
possession. I'm talking about soul possession over here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm talking about if you kill your double becomes you.
Oh, okay.
It possesses your body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you become one again or something like that.
Pick up on that.
Huh?
Because you could become one again or something. Because prior to this,
that was just the ending.
A government program or whatever that did this to control us somehow. We presumably were both us and our doppelganger in our own in one body. You know.
Yeah. Well, I guess
the logistics of it just don't make any sense. It just
exactly, and that's what I'm talking about. Is I think every rewatch will inform more about these logistics, and at the same time, I think a lot of them that we think matter don't matter, and I think it's entertaining.
I feel like you're gonna get more out of more rewatches, but I feel like there's this nagging feeling, and again, I have only seen it once, but there's this nagging feeling that I feel like I'm only gonna get more up to a certain point, and it's not gonna get. You're saying that you think that everything is there, and it feels like everything. It still feels like everything is not there. Granted,
I'm not saying everything is there. I'm saying everything crucial.
Yeah.
Well, I guess then it becomes the definition of what's crucial.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I guess it depends on like how much you're informed by by the information that is presented and how much like you're thinking about that and how much that's detracting from like you like watching it. Because there were times, because like I was in my head thinking that, well, this is the person who lived down there. Like,
Right.
she is the evil person. So like when she's going through the tunnels, it's like, okay,
Yeah, she's going home. She knows where she's going. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. What doesn't make sense is that if her son got swapped down there, you know, why would she just want? Because it seems like they hint that maybe she realizes this and she smiles at him. It's like, no, that's still your natural son. If the swap indeed happened, that's still your natural son that got swapped down there. Why would you be smiling about? Why would you be smiling about this? Am I making sense? Like, is that making sense?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just.
Well, I think there's
some
a point
polishing.
also that
There's some polishing.
where they play into the kind of her like the mother relationship where she's watching the red suit daughter die on the tree, and that it's like there's like a weird connection there.
Yeah, that is true.
Because that's
she's looking at it a little too long.
Because she's like aware that it's like kind of her daughter. It's not like a weird like mimicking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
So
they're all blood.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, clearly, it creates confusion.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody really like agrees necessarily. I mean, some people sure, but like for the most part, I mean, it's gonna take a few watches, I think, to really get a solid consensus. Like, I can't really confidently, come down on much of this without at least like 2 or 3 watches. I mean,
so what did you think? Because I think we were talking before. I guess there was a point I wanted to touch on, but we were talking about things and how they wrap up. And I think depending on how you view thematically what the goal is,
right,
that certain things can be forgiven or not forgiven. So like thematically, what were you? Because you brought up you thought it was all about the media, right?
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Of course. I mean, it's specifically about U.S. media because it's set in America and it's the tunnels under America and this and that. And then it's all about the manufactured versions of ourselves. And it's about free will and whether or not free will exists or if we're constructed identities ourselves. And, the tethered are supposed to be these monstrosities of what that could be, the kind of if that goes wrong and just turns into an utter mess of kind of consumption, and so that's why they take everything they consumed and made it what they're about, even if it made no damn sense at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For sure.
That's why they're Hands Across America for no reason, because literally that's all they knew was Hands Across America and Thriller, I guess. But I mean, that's just one take on it. I mean,
yeah, because I kind of saw it more as, which I guess kind of plays into the media aspect a little bit, but just like the suppression of everyone's worst quality, and I think it's kind of like a relevant movie to come out now in that way, but like that you push all these things that you think to yourself down, and that eventually there will be a time where they will all come back and it like will not be good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, things like, fucking like white nationalists now and like all these things that like feel suppressed for so long that like you don't know are there in people that like end up coming back later. What about you? What about you?
Specifically what?
Just like thematically, what?
Oh
do you
yeah.
think of it?
So I got the class angle out of it.
I've heard that before too.
Yeah. And I mean maybe that's the more digestible angle to look at it, because I think Sean's angle is just as valid.
Oh yeah.
But you can very easily see the doppelgangers as lower class, and our main character family has just
Privilege.
has just become privileged. The dad just got a boat. That's a big deal for some people, you know.
Hey, middle class. Here we are.
Middle class, upper middle class. Here we are. I got a boat, you know. And so like you can kind of see it as definitely like a revolution of lower class against upper class, obviously ascending levels and stuff, and that happening whilst going up with getting a boat. And did they just acquire the cabin? I forget, or is that a summer home they've had for a while?
I honestly can't remember.
Do you remember, Sean?
No.
Okay, well, presumably, you know, they have a cabin, whether it's new or not, whatever, and then he just acquired a boat.
They're transitioning.
And
class,
there's just
though.
transitioning.
I mean, that's what it's about.
There's this,
is they're
they're transitioning. There's a subject of like, oh, I can't believe he got that new car, and then they steal the new car.
Like he did it like just to get at me. Like this guy bought a new car.
Exactly.
Me, you know.
So there's that. There's even down to like the Thriller shirt with the lower class girl getting the dirty version of the Thriller shirt, and then on top of that, like all of the, as they do their revolution, they're all into this Hands Across America thing, which the lower class, I guess, is maybe they're critiquing that the lower class is expected to do something like that, because do you think upper class people participate in Hands Across America? Not unless they're getting paid to say it. You know, so I think there's a whole bunch of different angles, but about that. But I think you can definitely see that in there. Lost my exact train of thought, but I mean, you kind of get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like you can definitely look at. There's enough not evidence, but there's enough to support that angle in there.
I think there's enough to support a lot of angles intentionally.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't think, because a lot of people, like we were talking about it not being as satisfying as Get Out earlier. Yeah. And I don't think the goal is to be, because I think the goal is not to have like a pointed focus of a statement.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just so different than Get Out in that way, where Get Out is like A to B.
Yeah.
This is A to Z.
Yeah, totally.
So suddenly you're looking at the whole alphabet, being like, what's my play?
I spoke to a friend last night about Get Out, and she brought up a point about so when the doppelganger mom talks, she talks like this, and so you can you know, they kind of hint that that's because of being strangled, but also you could look at it as if, you know, she living with these other doppelgangers, that she hasn't used her vocal cords in a long time, and so that it's their what's the word
it's not coming. It's not gonna come.
I don't know.
It's not gonna come. No, it's not. I want to say asphyxiated. No, they're not. That they're you know, the muscles are unused in a while and not not as functional as they should be, because she hasn't. Who's she gonna talk to? They don't know. Apparently don't know how to talk. Even though the mom's
everyone's too busy.
Even though the mom doppelganger learned how to talk. If we're following the twist. I think she was saying apparently Jordan Peele was and again, I didn't clarify this. I didn't confirm this, but you know, he was asked this, and he kind of wanted to have both as a possibility, and both of those things be like open-ended. Like, it doesn't really matter, but it can be either one of those two things. Yeah. So presumably, if that is true, then you can apply. It doesn't really matter. It's just more so the point of it. It can be a bunch of different things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the weakest part of the movie.
What?
The doppelganger mom's voice.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Like this. Yeah. I just think out of everything, that was just the weakest part.
It wasn't necessary. I get the concept of, like, if someone's, like, in a tunnel their entire life and, like, don't talk, that...
Really?
You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. No.
Well, I mean, if you're not using your muscles in your throat, I understand that, like, it would be hard to talk because you haven't used them in years.
Why?
You know what I mean?
Why?
Well, it's just like if you never use your legs, if you don't use your legs or your arms for like 10 years, do you think it's going to be easy to lift them up or use them? You know what I mean?
But at the same time, if the lore is as it was, wouldn't she be using it?
I guess so. Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the only thing. I mean, I don't know.
I don't have like a strong stance on the voice either way. That was the thought process to me behind it. That like it's not like it's a muscle that she isn't using, so it's not gonna like
or it's damaged, but it doesn't really matter which one it is.
Yeah, it would have to be damaged, I think,
the impact on the story is the same.
Yeah,
I think it's just used as a spooky thing.
Yeah, I think it's conveniently.
Spooky. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I don't think out of all the things that may or may not have basis, I think that's one of the weaker ones for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of different angles to look at it, but I haven't been able yet. And I don't. It's like, also, is this even the point? It's like you travel down these roads, but I feel like there's always something like blocking it.
Yeah.
It's like I do feel like a lot of it is about just like fear and like the worst version of yourself manifesting and becoming a reality. You know what I mean? But I feel like that gets blocked down at a certain point, and I feel like, it just doesn't. I guess it's hard because I understand the want to have it be open to interpretation and be able to take certain things from it, but where are the lines of intention and like when does it become like a grab bag of like metaphors? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah. When can you pass? On the road when the line's solid or what, it's not clear whether the lines are solid or not.
Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, it's just a very watchable horror movie that's like well executed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm still definitely very for it, no matter how negative I'm sounding.
Absolutely.
And we'll watch it again for sure.
Oh, definitely. I feel that's the consensus for a lot of people. I know there have been people who did not like it, but I think they're mostly people who just don't like to think about their movies. If you like to think about a movie, it's worth watching. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, that's my main thing. Yeah, it just takes multiple watches, I think.
I'm still psyched to see what Jordan Peele does with Candyman. I'm still excited to see what he does with this Twilight Zone show, and it's gonna. I think we're gonna see. I think and hope that Jordan Peele continues to deliver on this caliber. If he can get out at least four real good stories, we'll have 4 good solid movies at least. Within. We'll have another modern auteur, so to speak, and I think he already is. But like that also, if he cranks out a good solid 4, that will solidify it.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, any other thoughts on us here?
I think it's worth seeing. I think if everyone should go see and make an opinion of it themselves.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. I mean, we need more original horror, and we need more horror with minorities as representation. And so I think it's important horror.
Absolutely.
Go see it.
Yes. I loved one more thought. I loved all the propeller gags with the boat. Those were all great.
A lot of propeller gags.
Because we've all had, not necessarily a boat, but we've all had like some kind of thing like that is
totally
clunky, and just to have it pay off in such a reoccurring manner and be not. It's not that's not the same gag every time with it, but it's done in a way that I thought was really entertaining and relatable.
For sure.
Kind of a thing, because again, like if it's with the boat, it's like a boat. You're gonna use it every 2 months when it's warm.
Yeah.
Every 3 months, and then it'll be sitting. So it's a very accurate problem to have, and the fact that it becomes handy to some degree is very humorous, I think. That's a total side note, but Us is very entertaining. I wonder if they do. I was saying earlier, I think it should still remain kind of standalone. I don't think it should have a sequel necessarily, because I feel like if it's a sequel would only serve to explain. And it's funny because we're complaining it's not explaining enough, and it's like a sequel will just explain too much. I was joking around to myself that I thought if they made a TV show, it should like a TV a weekly TV show it'd be called Us Weekly.
That's good.
But yeah, no, I think it's a very good thinker. You know, I think that's the best way you can put it. And if you want to think about your movies, go see it. If you don't want it and you want to be spoon-fed, or just want to eat your popcorn and watch a movie and not be thinking about it afterwards, go see something else.
So star ratings, what do you guys think out of 5?
7.75 out of 10.
What about out of 5, bud?
All right, whatever it translates to.
So what would that be? 7 point. You threw a ringer in there, bud. The 7.5.
Yeah. Like I said, it's as good as it can be.
I'd say a solid 4. I would say a solid 4, maybe like
so you're like slightly under 4.
Yeah, 3.95. Okay.
Yeah.
A solid 4, maybe a 4.2 at most.
Okay.
But I would say that's kind of generous. I mean, generous. I feel like I'm the way I review or rate movies, I feel like I'm usually, or things in general, maybe I'm a little more generous than some people necessarily, but I feel very confident.
Yeah, because I feel like I'm
confident.
at like
there's a
like
lot.
3.54.
There's a
which
lot.
is like same as you, but it seems like there's a
lot. There's a lot of folks out there. I feel like when they review something, they're like, "Oh, it was fantastic." 2.5 stars.
I just find it hard to talk about the positives because it's just like, it was good. Like her performance, fucking good.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What else are you gonna say?
But like this thing that was on screen for 5 seconds that I didn't like. Let's talk about that for 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying though. It's not fair to the movie. The movie.
Yeah,
did
but
so
in
much.
the end of
exactly.
it, you get the same outcome.
Which is why I was saying like a solid 4, because like 2.5 like is like your 50%. You got half the grade so far if you get a 2.5. And like a 4 is like a 4 out of 5 is a solid. That's a good movie. That's a solid good movie. A 5 is like that's a great movie.
It's a fucking
that's
banger.
Like that is like a legendary. Like 5, solid 5 should be reserved for like a handful of personally, I think should be reserved for like a handful of movies a year.
I suppose on that note, my 3.8595 whatever is fluid, and I think that could absolutely change with rewatch.
Yeah,
I just have to explore further. I mean, it's hard to be confident in my rating.
If you had to pare it down though, would you go up or down? Bumping up? Bumping up to 4?
Like I said, I think the logic is internal.
Yeah.
I think the logic is there. I don't think it necessarily explains all of the logic. So I think it'll go up.
All right. Hell yeah.
All right, cool.
All right.
Well, yeah, all good things all around.
Hell yeah.
Go see Us.
All right, well, that's our review of Us, and as always, you can find our other episodes on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. If you enjoy the show, leave us a review on iTunes. You can email us at listentousrantaboutmovies@gmail.com. Do you guys have any plugs you want to do?
Watch Machine Baby
on
YouTube via World of Death, and Canine coming out soon.
Is the festival run done for K9? Are there any screenings coming up, or?
We're probably pretty much done.
I gotcha.
At this point.
You guys hit a lot of fests though.
Yeah, we had a great run. Absolutely. Yeah, no, very fortunate. We won some awards with the film. It's a small 5-minute little short film, but we got to meet some great people and make some great connections.
Yeah, man. Well, go check out Machine Baby. It's a great short.
Mm-hmm.
Look out for K9.
Thank you.
Well, thanks to our Scott, you got anything to plug online?
I can't say I do. Although I did work on Machine Baby as well. I did the post mix on it. So yeah, check out Machine Baby.
All right, cool. Well, thanks to our Patreon producer Sean Pierce. And you can be a producer supporter by visiting the Patreon page and becoming a monthly patron for as little as $1. Visit patreon.com/LTURAM.
Do it.
And that's it. Thanks for coming on, boys. This was fun.
Yeah, it was a
Nice.
great time. Thanks for having us, Zach.
Yeah,
Of
absolutely.
course.
Thanks for having us.
All right, and we'll be back probably with Wes on the next one. So until next time.
Great.